After the drop-off, I thought my task was done. I never imagined they intended to leave me behind. In front of me, a luxurious cruiser stood still, gleaming under the sun. We had talked about this being a family trip, but my daughter-in-law, Emily, didn't hand me a ticket. She's now smirking with the most spiteful grin. You're really slow to catch on, aren't you? You were just the driver. That's your role. Getting excited and packing all those large bags, isn't that embarrassing? Once you understand, just wait here at the port with your fingers crossed. When we come back, be ready to drive us home. Her words were as cruel as they were unexpected. She's shown her disdain for me before, and her remarks often prioritized her own interests. But this was the most escalated and blatant expression of her contempt yet. Surely we booked 5 tickets, so where's the last one? Who knows? In any case, there are only 4 tickets here. In moments like this, my son James could have intervened and stopped her, but instead he chose to feign ignorance and avoid any trouble. Naturally, my young grandchildren, Luke and Lily, didn't understand the situation. They squirmed impatiently, eager to board the cruiser as quickly as possible. I see, I said, masking my emotions. It's a shame I can't join you all. Truly. But it's fine. I added, my tone calm yet firm. After all, I was invited separately. What? At that moment, the expression of disbelief on Emily's face was unforgettable. Today, under the backdrop of the sea and sky, would undoubtedly be a day she'd never forget. My name is Evelyn Tadwick, 73 years old. I live on a modest pension after losing my husband, who was several years my senior. My only son, James, has never left home. After his marriage, he and his wife, Emily, along with their 2 children, Luke and Lily, continued to live with me. James has always been kind-hearted and treated me with care since he was young. We reside in the condo my late husband left us. It's a lively household of 5, full of the playful energy of my grandchildren. Although the condo feels a bit cramped for 5 people, I've convinced myself that the bustle adds vitality. On the cabinet above, I've arranged many family photos, reflecting on the memories we've shared over the years. Among these photos is a picture of James's wedding in the latest frame. I often think it's about time we take a photo of me holding my grandchildren. Each photo is placed in frames adorned with cute dog designs, as I'm a huge animal lover. Since pets aren't allowed in the condo, my room overflows with animal-themed items instead. Emily, however, seems to dislike this. She's the pragmatic type who can't stand anything that doesn't benefit her directly. Emily, at 35, quit her job after getting married and is now a stay-at-home mom. As a result, we see each other almost all day. It's enough that you've provided us with a place to live, Mom. All you need to do now is handle some light chores. Even at your age, that should be manageable, right? Well, I don't mind helping with housework, but wouldn't it be fair to split it equally between us? That's exactly why it's troublesome dealing with people who can't face reality. Having 2 kids is exhausting, you know. Helping out is a parent's duty, isn't it? Since you don't contribute a single penny to the household, that much is the least you can do. After 5 years of living together, Emily had completely shed any sense of reserve. She would barge into my room, voicing her complaints without hesitation. Why do you collect all these cheap dog-themed trinkets? They make the house look tacky. If you threw them out, the room would feel so much bigger. Hearing this always made me sad, but these trinkets were precious to me, many of them gifts from others. Besides, I only kept them in my room. Surely that wasn't a problem, yet my reasoning never reached her. No, absolutely not. Once you're gone, I plan to turn this room into my closet. Are you trying to leave a mess for others to clean up after you? Her bluntness left me stunned. The subject of my room had come up before, but no one had ever been this direct. After you're gone? Even if said casually, it felt ill-omened. That's hardly appropriate. Are you saying I should stay here forever then? Oh, don't be ridiculous. It's just the reality. Or are you planning to live eternally? Her words left me speechless. Emily's harsh demeanor seemed to show that she no longer cared what I thought of her. But even Emily had her weak spots. My son James couldn't function without me. Looking back, I realized I made mistakes in raising him. At 35 years old, James didn't even know how to cook rice. He relied on others for everything. Emily tried her best to cater to James's preferences, but it didn't seem to go well. Living together had made it easier for James to turn to me for help. I understood him better than Emily did, making me his go-to person. I remember the first time it started not long after their wedding. It was late, almost bedtime, when I heard a knock at my door. Mom, can I talk to you for a second? Oh, what's the matter? I opened the door to find James standing there, holding a white shirt. What's wrong? That shirt looks fine. Emily ironed it for me, but look at all its creases. It's embarrassing. I usually just deal with it, but tomorrow's an important meeting. I can't wear this and show up looking like a slob. Upon inspection, I saw faint creases scattered across the shirt. Behind James, Emily stood with a sullen expression as if she had given up. You shouldn't criticize Emily when she put in the effort to help you. After all, you can't even do it yourself, can you? Emily nodded slightly, but James didn't respond. Effort doesn't matter if it's done poorly. My job is to work hard and earn a living. Ironing is a housewife's job. If I didn't do my job properly, it would be like abandoning my responsibilities. Mom, can you fix it for me? The clock was nearing midnight. But once James was this determined, there was no reasoning with him. Sighing, I walked to the living room to get started. Emily, watch and learn how Mom does it. If you're going to be a housewife, you need to iron shirts properly. Emily, now visibly upset, turned her face away. Tears glistened in her eyes, hinting at an argument they must have had before coming to me. I try my best, but just because I do things differently doesn't mean it's wrong. Deciding not to interfere in their marital issues, I quietly pressed the iron to the shirt. After that night, whenever James had an important meeting, he would bring me his shirts to iron. These incidents became routine, each adding to the list of chores I was unofficially assigned. Complaints about cooking were no exception. If James found Emily's cooking unsatisfactory, he'd insist I remake it. Emily would puff out her cheeks and sulk. Admittedly, her cooking wasn't very good, but it was unfair of James to behave that way. Over time, even my grandchildren, Luke and Lily, grew accustomed to my cooking. Grandma's food is the best. They say this in unison, which only made Emily more frustrated. As a result, I ended up cooking meals about 5 times a week. Emily, in contrast, was responsible for weekends, often resorting to fast food. One sunny day, Emily prepared to leave the house, carrying only a small pouch. You're traveling light today, aren't you? That's a cute little pouch. I'm just going to pick up Luke. Don't you know what this is, Mom? Emily held up the pouch, hanging from her shoulder, showing it off. Calling it a pouch is so outdated. It's a smartphone shoulder bag. Everyone's using them now. A smartphone shoulder bag? You mean it's just for carrying your phone? That's right. These days, as long as you have your smartphone, you don't need anything else. I realized she had a point. Lately, I'd noticed more women carrying similar items in town. I see, so that's what it's all about. Interesting. Emily's face lit up with pride, as if she had just taught me something groundbreaking. See, Mom? You're so out of touch. You don't know anything about young people. By the time you catch up, you'll already be a grandma. Maybe I should give you a test on modern trends. She seemed overly pleased with herself, as though the smartphone shoulder bag was her personal invention. But doesn't it bother you how bulky it looks? Emily's phone case was stuffed with cards and receipts, making it twice as thick as normal. It's not very smart to carry something so overstuffed, is it? Are you nitpicking again? That's why you're so annoying. Her fiery glare silenced me, and I decided to placate her with a compliment to smooth things over. To Emily, I was little more than a provider of housing and occasional chores. After the birth of their second child, she became increasingly dependent on me. Of course, I had no complaints in the early days after the birth, but even as life settled down, Emily made no move to resume household responsibilities. Eventually, she abandoned even the simple task of taking out the trash. Trash bins would overflow, and garbage would pile up around them. Shared spaces? I could tidy them, but Emily's personal areas were a different story. Emily, shouldn't you start tidying up soon? Could you stop being so passive-aggressive? You're incredibly irritating. If the mess bothers you so much, why don't you clean it up yourself? Frustrated, I ended up collecting all the trash in the house. Our apartment didn't have a set garbage day. We could dispose of trash anytime. This convenience only encouraged Emily's laziness. Meanwhile, James was no help at all, oblivious to both the mess and the rules for garbage disposal. The two of them never broke down boxes or crushed cartons. As a result, I frequently hauled large trash bags from the 11th floor to the ground floor. The physical strain of carrying such loads was immense, but no one else would do it. Mom, why are you taking the trash out now? Why? Well, Luke is fussing, isn't he? Please calm him down. You can't even do that? You're such a useless grandma. My hands were full, and I was just about to leave the house. Emily, however, was sitting comfortably with her smartphone, not looking particularly busy. I can't help right now. Maybe you should handle it yourself? Unbelievable. Are you shirking your responsibilities? And yet you still have the nerve to talk about parenting as if you're an expert? Emily seemed to have concluded that I was an unhelpful mother-in-law. The relationship between Emily and me was far from harmonious. Despite my desire to bridge the gap, our dynamic grew colder with each passing year. I was racking my brain for a way to improve things when an unexpected idea came up. Emily suggested a family trip. It was a warm day close to the summer holidays when she approached me. Mom, you're free on the last Saturday of the month, aren't you? You've got nothing better to do, so I'm sure you are. Yes, I'm free. Why do you ask? Let's go on a family cruise. There's a limited time day cruise offering gourmet dining and beautiful scenery. It'll be refreshing, like a cleansing of the soul. Despite her usual sharp tone, I was genuinely impressed by her proposal. She even showed me the website on her phone, and it looked wonderful. I could already imagine how delighted my grandchildren would be. A cruise on the open sea seemed like the perfect way to unwind. That sounds lovely. A family outing like this is a great idea. Go ahead and book tickets for the 5 of us. Great! Make the reservation using your card. Oh, and you'll be driving us to the port, right? Her words caught me off guard. Wait, what? You want me to cover the costs? I thought we were all going together. What's with the hesitation? You're always so stingy with your pension. Can't you loosen up just this once? Or are you so broke you can't afford a family trip? Emily's tone was full of entitlement. When I stayed silent, she mocked me further, calling me miserly and selfish. Despite feeling conflicted, I thought of the opportunity to spend time with my grandchildren. Ultimately, I made the reservation. The tickets arrived soon after, and I handed the envelope over to Emily for safekeeping. Thanks for booking, Mom. The tickets are here. Now it feels real. Yes, let's make the most of it. I might even splurge on new outfits for Luke and Lily. A matching hat would be adorable. Conversations like these brought a rare warmth between us. I hope that being in an open and serene setting might help dissolve some of the tension in our household. I eagerly awaited the day of our trip. Finally, the day arrived. Luke and Lily were brimming with excitement, but Emily seemed even more animated. Sitting in the passenger seat, she couldn't stop talking. The cruise today is amazing. Mom, it's something you could never experience on a pension budget. That's wonderful, Emily. After all, you found the plan for us. Exactly. Trust me, it's going to be unforgettable. Emily then eyed my luggage critically. Isn't your bag too big, Mom? It's just a day trip. Travel light. That's what's stylish. Meanwhile, she proudly displayed her smartphone shoulder bag, oblivious to how stuffed it looked. During the drive, Emily remained glued to her phone, paying no attention to the kids fussing in the back seat. Luke and Lily sat with her, but unless she moved, no one could intervene to calm them down. As for me, I was navigating an unfamiliar route, focusing on driving safely. The road to the port was winding and complex, requiring constant attention. After a tiring drive, I finally pulled into a rest stop at a convenience store. We've arrived. Luke, Lily, go use the restroom. As soon as I parked, the 4 of them quickly got out of the car. I stayed inside, enjoying the cool air and a moment of peace. A few minutes later, James returned holding several bottles of juice. Thank you, James. I could use something to drink. Oh, I didn't get any for you, Mom. What? I looked more closely and saw he only had 4 bottles, 1 for each of them. Moments later, Emily returned with Luke and Lily. Mom doesn't need juice, does she? You're driving, so your hands are full anyway. Drinking while driving is dangerous, you know. I told James to be considerate. Oh, I see. By now, I was used to being excluded. It didn't matter. I knew everything would resolve itself once we reached the port. With that slim hope, I started the car again. The road suddenly opened up, and the sunlight became brighter. To my right, the sea came into view, sparkling under the sun. Luke and Lily squealed with excitement, and even my heart felt lighter. I parked in the designated lot and stepped out, breathing in the salty air. The port was lively, with several boats docked. Luke and Lily ran ahead, followed by James and Emily, while I carried the large bags and walked at my own pace. When we reached the cruiser, Emily pulled out the familiar envelope from her shoulder bag. Here are the tickets. Everyone gets one. She handed a ticket each to James and Luke. Holding Lily in one arm, she kept 2 tickets for herself. I extended my hand to receive mine, but Emily made no move to give it to me. Emily, where's my ticket? She paused, smirking again with that same spiteful grin. The drop-off is done. You're not coming with us." "What are you saying? You're really slow to catch on, aren't you? You were just the driver. That's your role. And carrying those big bags? So embarrassing. Now stay here at the port and wait for us. When we're done, you can drive us home." Her words stung. Emily had always shown disdain for me, prioritizing her own interests, but this was the most blatant display of disrespect I had ever experienced. I glanced at James, hoping he might intervene, but he looked away, pretending not to notice. Meanwhile, Luke and Lily, oblivious to the tension, tugged at Emily's hand, eager to board. "I see. It's a pity I can't join you. But it doesn't matter, I have my own plans." "What?" I pulled out a separate ticket and a brochure from my bag, holding them up for Emily to see. Then I pointed to a larger, more elegant cruiser docked nearby. Emily's jaw dropped as she looked between me and the grand vessel. "What are you talking about?" I originally planned to decline this family trip, but I decided to leave my options open just in case. Turns out my instincts about your intentions were correct. I can't bring myself to stay with someone as manipulative as you. I held up an invitation card for her to see, though I kept it just out of her reach. "Let me see that." "No way. I wouldn't want you ripping this one up like you did with my original ticket." Emily's face turned pale. "What are you talking about? I didn't rip anything up." "Oh, but you did. You tore my tickets to shred and threw it in the trash. You must have thought I would notice since I'm the one stuck with cleaning up your messes." While sorting garbage one day, I came across the torn pieces of my ticket. That was when I figured out her entire scheme. "So you knew all along and still went along with it? Who's the sneaky one here? You treat me like your servant and exclude me from family activities. You even went as far as destroying my ticket, clearly an act of malice. Why would I respond to that with kindness?" Emily clenched her fists, glaring at me. "But what's this about being invited? You're not the type to get an invitation to something so grand." "It's true. I've never had such an opportunity before, but after booking your family trip, I received this unexpected invitation. The days coincided, and I was torn at first. However, after seeing your behavior, the choice became obvious." "But why would you get invited?" "It's simple. For over 20 years, I've been part of an animal welfare charity." Emily blinked, clearly shocked by the revelation. The idea of volunteering for a cause seemed utterly foreign to her. Since I couldn't keep pets, I devoted my time to helping animals in need. This year, the charity is celebrating its anniversary with a special ceremony aboard this cruiser. They invited me to honor my contributions. I gestured to my large bag, which held formal attire for the event and other essentials for the overnight trip. Emily's face contorted with frustration as she processed the information. "It's not fair. You get to go on a luxurious trip while we're stuck with something less grand? I've never even heard you mention charity work before. Volunteering isn't something you brag about. It's about making a difference. If you feel envious, why not try doing something for others? Though considering how you can't even manage your own household, that might be a stretch." Emily's face turned red with anger. She glared at me, her eyes filled with indignation. "I'm the backbone of this family. Give me that invitation instead." "Not a chance. You have no interest in animal welfare, and you'd embarrass yourself if you attended. Trying to join just for the luxury is shallow and would only make you stand out in a bad way." Emily's behavior was so ridiculous I couldn't help but laugh. My amusement only made her angrier. "Fine, I don't need your stupid trip. I have my own plans anyway." "Of course you do. After all, you're heading on a cruise I paid for. You mentioned it would be something I could never afford on my pension, didn't you? Too bad though. I'll be enjoying an even grander voyage on that ship over there." My sarcastic words hit their mark. Emily's face twisted in fury, unable to contain her emotions. "How dare you, leaving your family behind for some selfish indulgence?" "Selfish? Isn't that your specialty? After all, you deliberately excluded me from this trip by tearing up my ticket. And for what? So you could flaunt yourself as the perfect mother? Meanwhile, all you do is push the hard work onto others." Emily opened her mouth to retort but faltered. "I've been meaning to ask, Emily, what exactly have you done for this family? The house is always messy, and you can't even manage basic chores. Don't you find that embarrassing?" "I've been raising 2 kids, Evelyn. That's twice the work you have with just one. Raising kids isn't a competition, and yet you've left much of the child rearing to me. When Luke or Lily need something, they come to me first, not you." Emily's face hardened, but she couldn't deny the truth. James, who had been silent, muttered under his breath. "She's got a point." Even Luke, standing nearby, hid behind me, avoiding his mother's angry gaze. Lily, who Emily was holding, squirmed uncomfortably, and I gently took her into my arms. Emily, you don't even handle the kids' basic needs. Luke's clothes are often dirty, and I know he feels self-conscious about it at preschool. A clean outfit isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Luke's just being picky. Lately he's been so spoiled. Giving in to every little demand will only make him selfish. That's why grandparents like you are too soft. Soft? Expecting clean clothes is basic decency. That's a parent's responsibility. Then let him learn to do it himself. Kids shouldn't grow up expecting everything to be done for them. James flinched at her words, realizing the harsh irony. He had never learned to do anything for himself and still relied on me for everything. I sighed, holding Lily close. Emily, even your children don't turn to you when they need help. How does that feel? While you spend your days scrolling on your phone, they come to me for comfort and care. Do you even know the contents of Luke's preschool bag? Emily froze, speechless. She had never packed Luke's bag, not even once. She was quick to volunteer for visible tasks like school events, but the daily, unseen efforts were left to me. James, seeing Emily cornered, took the opportunity to interject. Mom's right. You're always glued to your phone. You don't handle housework or the kids properly. And James, you're no better. You're a grown man who can't even handle basic responsibilities. Relying on others isn't just lazy, it's embarrassing. But Mom, you've always helped me. That's precisely the problem. You're a father now, yet you act like a child. It's not cute, it's downright frustrating. James and Emily exchanged glances, both looking deflated. But I wasn't finished. My years of pent-up frustration couldn't be ignored any longer. The two of you make an oddly fitting pair. One avoids responsibility while the other complains endlessly. And then there's today. You didn't just exclude me from this trip, you showed me exactly how little you consider me part of this family. That's not true. I was just going along with Emily. James averted his gaze, mumbling under his breath. His excuses, as always, lacked conviction. How convenient. You're always happy to follow someone else's lead, even if it means being complicit in cruelty. I didn't raise you to be like this, James. Emily, no longer able to contain her frustration, turned on James. You're the worst husband ever. No matter what I do, you always take your mom's side. To be fair, James does rely on me far too much. I can see how that might bother you, Emily. But instead of discussing it, you chose to push me out of the family altogether, inviting me on this trip only to tear up my ticket? That's cruel, even for you. Emily's expression hardened, but I could see she was shaken. I had no choice. I wanted us to have the house to ourselves, free from your interference. You're always in the way, Evelyn. This was just the first step. Her extreme candor left me speechless. I realized that this wasn't just about the trip. She wanted to erase me from their lives entirely. So you think you can just push me aside? Take over my home and my life? You could have tried talking to me, but instead you resorted to schemes and deceit. Emily sneered, clearly unrepentant. I didn't owe you anything. You were just a burden we needed to get rid of. Her words confirmed what I had suspected all along. Just then James stepped forward, his voice rising in anger. That's enough, Emily. You've gone too far. You're a terrible homemaker. You can't even manage the kids properly. Mom does everything for us, and all you do is complain. What exactly do you contribute? And you think you're so much better? You barely earn enough to support us. The argument spiraled, growing more heated with each exchange. Luke and Lily began to cry, overwhelmed by the shouting. I held them close, trying to comfort them amidst the chaos. Both of you, stop it! How can you argue like this while your children are in tears? Neither of them responded, too absorbed in their bickering to acknowledge the damage they were causing. I sighed deeply, realizing how futile it was to reason with them. Emily, you've treated me like a servant for years, and I've tolerated for the sake of this family. But I'm done. I won't let either of you use me anymore. You want to live without me? Fine. Figure it out on your own. I turned to leave, carrying Lily in my arms as Luke clung to my side. James tried to follow, but I stopped him with a stern look. No, James. This is my time now. With that, I boarded the grand cruiser, leaving them behind. As the ship pulled away from the port, I felt a sense of liberation. For the first time in years, I was free. When I returned home after the trip, the apartment was a disaster. Trash was piled up, laundry was left untouched, and Emily was nowhere to be found. It seems she had followed through on her threat to leave. Mom, you're back. Oh, thank God. What happened here? Look around. I couldn't manage without you. Another day and the place would have been unlivable. I sighed, realizing that James hadn't learned anything from the ordeal. And Emily? Where is she now? She's gone. We tried to head home after the day cruise, but she got pulled over by the police. She ignored a stop sign. To make matters worse, she didn't have her driver's license with her. Let me guess. She had tucked it away in her smartphone case? James nodded grimly, confirming my suspicion. When she realized she had thrown her phone into the sea, she panicked. After getting scolded by the police, she came home furious, packed her things, and stormed out. So she abandoned everything just like that? Yeah, and to make it official, this came in the mail yesterday. James handed me an envelope. Inside was a divorce petition, already signed by Emily. I think it's for the best. She was too difficult to live with. Let's go back to how things were, Mom. Just the two of us. Absolutely not. My voice was sharp and final, startling James. I won't spend the rest of my life cleaning up after you. You've had plenty of chances to grow up and you've squandered everyone. It's time for you to leave. But Mom, we're family. Being family doesn't mean you can treat me like a servant. Pack your things and find your own place. You need to learn how to live on your own. James looked stunned, but he could see I was serious. Reluctantly, he gathered his belongings and left later that day. According to him, he eventually found Emily and moved into a small apartment with her. Their second attempt at living together wasn't without challenges, but they had little choice. Occasionally, James would visit with Luke and Lily, sharing stories about their struggles. Mom, you were right. Living with Emily isn't easy. She still doesn't take care of the trash, and now I'm the one doing all the housework. It's exhausting, but I have to keep things together for the kids. At least you've learned something, James. Despite his complaints, James seemed more grounded than before. It was a hard lesson, but one he needed to experience. Meanwhile, my life had become wonderfully peaceful. I redecorated my condo, filling it with things I loved. My days were spent enjoying the company of friends, participating in animal welfare activities, and cherishing visits from my grandchildren. I no longer felt burdened or overlooked. Surrounded by memories and the things that brought me joy, I have finally reclaimed my life.